Hey, everybody. We are live once again. Thank you for tuning in for Unfiltered and Intentional. I'm going to give a disclosure right now and say I am so sorry if my technology, my lighting's not right and stuff. Everything was working perfectly about an hour ago, and then it just all kind of went chaotic. For anybody who's ever did anything live, you know how it can go. I do apologize. We'll drop some knowledge and some facts a little bit later, but I definitely want to pass the mic to Ty. Go ahead.
Hello. It's your boy, your first. I'm saying hello to you. Sorry, I'm a little off today. It must be today. It really must be today. However, welcome back, all of our lovely, faithful and loyal viewers and subscribers, and welcome for our new viewers and new subscribers if you like what we do. If you are viewing this on Facebook, can you please make it over to the YouTube channel? Go to Unfiltered and Intentional, press the like, subscribe, share button, alert. And if you're viewing it from YouTube and you haven't made it over to the Facebook page, go there and be a part of our group, have some great discussion.
Thank you. Once again, I want to say thank you, Liz and Specs, for being our lovely co-hosts as well, and always dropping that knowledge. And I have a special guest who happens to be a regular on the show, Charles, aka my brother, but we won't hold that against him. With that being said, every time I start the show off, I like to kind of give an update on what happened today in history. But not just history for American history, our history. So today is the 21st, on March the 21st, 1981, after a Mobile, Alabama jury acquits a black man of killing a white police officer, Ku Klux Klan members randomly kidnap and kill 19-year-old Michael Donald, a black man, and hang his body from a tree. So as you can see, this has been happening ever since. At the end of the day, we definitely don't want to forget about Michael Donald and the different things that his family has endured, and his legacy will reign. So I definitely wanted to give that tidbit out. But today's topic of conversation is about gun control. And it was interesting because all of us were talking, and Liz came out with the idea of like, hey, we're talking about mass shootings because just recently this week, 8 people lost their lives in this heinous crime. I won't speak his name. Liz said, please do not put any power into that man's name, and I won't. So, but just in general, she said, hey, let's talk about this gun control because it's a hot topic. A lot of people think when you elect different officials into office, you know, you're also going to be possibly taking away your guns. You know, more liberals are more, hey, you know, let's conserve those guns and let's take them away. But then you have the conservatives like open the floodgates. I want to propose a question to you, Charles, just to start it off. Mm-hmm. Do you feel, and I'm just going to put it out there, do you feel that we would actually have gun control if more African Americans started arming themselves?
No, I do not. Okay. While it is perceived that yes, if you were to go ahead and get every single African American male and female of age to go ahead and sign up for a concealed carry license or whatever state they happen, depending on which state they live in. Okay, because gun laws are different per state. That there would be this immediate flack of people creating a great deal of gun laws. And the reason for that is because of what happened with the Black Panther Party. Yes. During the 60s, I think it was 1968 or 1969, members of the Black Panther Party walked up into the California Senate and armed, which they were legally able to do because of the laws at that time. And it created this big whole hoopla, and Ronald Reagan, who was the governor at the time, basically together with the NRA.
Yep.
Okay, with the NRA, decided that it was time to pass gun control measures to go ahead and restrict their ability to just do something like this. That was 1968. We now live in 2020 and for 2021. And thank you, because 2020 was a bad year. 2021. And the while times have changed, while times have not changed in a certain degree, all right, times have changed in others. And one of them is that due to the fact you have an increased number of African Americans, Latinos, and minorities that are in law enforcement, due to the fact you have a large number of minorities that are now involved in government, whereas before they were not. Okay, I am not a believer that if African Americans were to go ahead and by the numbers get access to guns legally, concealed carry permits or hunting permits or whatever, that there would be a big backlash in having a huge amount of gun control.
Now, before we, and I'm going to parking lot the stuff that you said, because I did it for a reason, to strategically, like I said, everything is intentional. No, but I want to ask everybody here today on the panel, are you yes guns, no guns, or with modification? Ty, Liz, Specs, Charles.
I'm for guns with stipulations. Again, we're talking about gun control meaning the regulation of the sale and the use of a firearm. So again, I'm pro that, but with stipulation.
Okay, what about you, Liz?
Okay, so no secret, I'm a liberal, and I am that liberal that is I'm fairly anti-gun. I don't think that we can get rid of guns in society. I don't think that we should. I do believe that the Constitution guarantees us the right to have firearms. I do think that they need to have much tighter regulations, much tighter, like New York level. And that's a lot. I'm coming from Florida, where it's a free-for-all. I don't think it should be a free-for-all at all. I think that where we're at right now is it's immoral.
So would you be? And I'm sorry, I'm gonna get to you, Specs and Charles, but I just wanted to jump in and ask one little question real quick to Liz. Would you be okay with a law I remember Ben O'Rourke, if I'm pronounced his name correctly, from Texas. I remember him stating yes, we're gonna take your gun, we want your guns, and a lot of people got afraid from that statement. What do you mean you're gonna be knocking on my door taking it? Would you be okay with that? Hey, I need your gun. What you got, a AR?
Yeah, some people do need to lose their guns. A lot of people need to lose their guns. If you have a history of violence, if you've ever stalked somebody, if especially a man has ever put his hands on a woman, any woman at any point in his life, if you have a mental problem, if you've ever had a breakdown, if you've ever been in a mental hospital, there's a lot of, take their gun. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, we'll get back to that. No, because it's a heated topic. Specs and Charles. Specs.
You were asking, was I pro-gun or was that okay? Yeah, I'm pro-gun.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm stuttering a little bit. Everything should be regulated, but most laws I've seen that are new are kind of going after legal gun owners and not criminals. I used to live in Maryland, which is pro-criminal. They will go after you that have a legal gun and slap somebody that has some kind of illegal gun and give them no time, and might not even give them a trial. So a lot of gun laws I've seen in the last couple of years have nothing to do with criminals. Really, this is more about, we don't want you to have guns, anybody, but criminals, you're good. So no.
Okay, Charles.
I'll need more laws.
I am pro-gun. I am pro Second Amendment, and I believe in guns.
Guns.
Yep. Okay. Every homeowner should have 3 guns. A long gun, a shotgun, and a pistol.
No. And so let me touch base on that. Wait. And let me touch base on that.
He's in the mood today.
And it's the weather. But with that being said, I want to talk about the Second Amendment. So when the Constitution was created, they did not have us in mind. They did not have African American men in mind. They did not have women in mind. They didn't have nobody in mind. Basically, it was like, hey, I'm a farmer. I don't want you to come and approach your ways on me, or you might take my sheep or something like that. Very, very different rules set up from 2021 compared to back then. So don't you feel that there should be some type of modification towards that? Because they had little muskets that they would shoot with the gunpowder and these things. I mean, I don't think that the Constitution was written so like, yes, you can have your tank and your bazooka and your this and this. Or how do you feel about that one, Charles?
Okay, so let's touch up on the Second Amendment and a little bit of history, and then I'll go into your question. And I'll be brief with the history because I can be a little long-winded because I'm a big history buff. So basically, anything prior to 1865 was not written for us. Anything prior to 1865 was not written for us. As per the Dred Scott case of 1851, I believe, the Supreme Court said we were not included in the foundation of this country, despite the fact that over 10,000 African-American males fought in the Revolution. African-American females also served as spies. So despite fighting for this country, the first 12 amendments did not matter to us because we were not included in that. However, after 1865, the 13th Amendment, which essentially ended slavery, 14th Amendment, which essentially gave citizenship to African Americans, more or less on those lines. Those laws of the Constitution then retroactively became then applied to us. Now, despite the fact that after the Revolution, if you were African descent, you were disarmed. If you were a soldier or a militiaman, you were disarmed. You were not allowed to carry firearms in this country. However, again, the Second Amendment reads, the very beginning of it says, a well-regulated militia. All right. And there is no need to go ahead and go further than that, whatever. A well-regulated militia. All right. In order for you to join the militia, first of all, you had to be a citizen. This is the old days. You had to be a citizen. Citizens only meant white males. White male landowners, specifically. Yep. So if you were a white male, you couldn't own a firearm. All right. You had to be a white male landowner. Or under the employ of a white male landowner. That was the hashtag that a lot of states did that. However, that has been expanded now. In 2021, in all 50 states, you have the capability among federal law for you to be able to own a firearm. However, there are state laws that will either hinder your ability to own such a firearm, depending on where you live at. Some states like Vermont have no gun laws. Their law is essentially the Second Amendment. So as long as you don't have a felony or a domestic, because almost every single state follows those set of rules, felonies, domestics, domestic violence type issue, whatever. In Vermont, you can just walk into a gun store at the age of 18 and buy a firearm. But guess what? Vermont, which is far open when it comes to purchasing firearms, has the lowest gun violence within all the 50 states. Why? Because it's automatically assumed that everyone's packing. All right. Now, until you go ahead and disarm the entire population, you disarmed all the police officers, you disarm all the correction officers, you disarm every single member of the military. All right. You will never achieve gun restrictions the way that some people want it to happen. It's not going to happen. All right. No, it has nothing to do with the fact, Cash, whatever, that 99% of them are white, whatever. It has to do with the fact, whatever, I know people in there who are black. I know people in there who are Hispanic, Probably a lot of people of color don't want to live there because it's too damn cold in Vermont, geography plays a big difference, whatever, in where people want to live at. All right.
This is the
However,
question that he
that being
mentioned.
said, okay, if you go ahead and live in Vermont, you have the ability to do that. Florida, almost the same exact way. All right. I'm a resident of Florida. I happen to do a lot of work up in New York, so I'm up in New York a lot, whatever. But for that reason, whatever, okay, guess what? I can go ahead and the minute I turn 21, get my concealed carry permit and walk into any store and buy a firearm. All right. And that's exactly how it should be. The problem with, I believe, when it comes to African American gun ownership is the fear factor. Okay. Fear has been inbred into African American society since the day of slave owner. Yo, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble by the big boss. Okay. That freaking mentality needs to freaking go. Okay. If someone rolls up on our grandmother Effie, Klansmen showed up to our grandmother Effie's house. Okay. Am I frozen?
No, you're good.
Okay.
Oh, he was frozen over here.
Klansmen rolled up on our grandmother's house in Mississippi. And guess what happened? Those are 2 dead Klansmen, and our family disappeared into the freaking night. All right. And we have been like any other African American families, whatever. The house would have been burnt down. They would have been lynched. They would have been crying, whatever, and weeping and asking Jesus for help, whatever. Okay. And all this other freaking nonsense, whatever. Okay. Guess what? Ooh. This is my Jesus. This is my John the Baptist. You come with my family, whatever. I'm going to blow your freaking brains out. And that's how African Americans need to get down.
And that's why we
got down like that from the first place. We wouldn't be in the problems we're in right now.
That's why we unfiltered. But wait. But I want to be able to
guns, and bodies everywhere.
What?
Charles,
let's talk. Ty. We're gonna bring back to it. Let's do some comments. But I first want to say, just make sure you guys like and subscribe on YouTube. If you're listening on Facebook, and if you're following somewhere else, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you. But yes, we are unfiltered. Wow. Okay. Ty, can you go ahead and read the comments?
Where do you want me to start?
You can start. Hold on. Start at the third one. You can start at. I'll click it. Okay, you can just read it. You got it.
Everything is deemed okay until Black people do it. Look at pop culture, fashion, trends, and music.
Mm-hmm. I believe that.
Exactly.
Oh, Alistair McCaster, I disagree. They view us differently. Just use the attack on January 6, 2021 as an example. They didn't view it as a problem because they were white.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to make a comment in regards to that.
Okay, let's go there.
Okay, Georgia, which again has similar gun rules to Florida. If you're 21, you can go ahead and get yourself a firearm, especially if you're a business owner and a property owner. You know, as a minority, that this country has a history of violence towards minorities. Stop living in the illusion that you're welcome here and people like you, okay, just because times have changed. They have not changed, okay? You go ahead. You're a business owner. You're a private citizen. You live in a state like Georgia, the South, which sided with the Confederacy during the war, which during its articles of separation from the Union stated that they will defend their right to own slaves, okay, by going to war. You live in that state. Why are you not armed now that the laws make it available for you to be armed? How can you live in the South and not be armed? You live in Klan country.
Okay, I got to.
Go ahead, Liz. Go ahead. No, it's okay.
I mean, where's the disconnect? You live in Klan country.
Okay.
People down there.
I feel like I need to say a prayer first, right?
Go ahead,
Liz. So everything you said, with all due respect, I couldn't disagree with you more, right? So going back to, I think, where we even started, where they're not going to change the laws. I think Kia asked the question of, if more Black people owned guns, would the laws change? Would we get gun control? Right? No. You know what? I do agree with you, Charles. The laws would not change, but what we cannot expect is fair and equal treatment under the law, right? And so, unfortunately, one of my favorite circumstances to go to. Just imagine Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman reversed. Just imagine that, because Trayvon would still be in jail. He would be in jail probably the rest of his life.
Wait,
right?
Trayvon will be in jail because he's 17 years old.
He wasn't even arrested without the whole world taking notice of the fact that he wasn't even arrested. You know what? He was arrested. He's still not in jail. So the idea that, well, Black people could just go buy guns and we have the same rights as everybody else. No, we don't. There's no world in which we have the same rights just because we have the access to the same laws. The laws and the rights are two different things, right? So, I mean, that's a fact. If somebody in Texas was walking down the street, locked and loaded, that's their right to do so, depending on their skin color. I promise you that the police are going to roll up on somebody my complexion or darker a lot faster than they are going to roll up on Mr. John there with blue eyes and blonde hair. That's a fact. So living under the illusion that we're in the South and that we're somehow safer because we're armed, the more armed we are, we're already a threat. We're a threat because we're wearing a hoodie. Imagine a hoodie with the possibility of a gun in our pockets. These people would lose their minds and we would lose our lives more than we already do.
But to counteract that, what you said, Liz, and I agree with both of you, Liz and Charles, I want to say, so yes, you know that you live in Florida is Klan country. The headquarters is in Florida. But with that being said, we know that they're armed. For me, and maybe it's a military background, maybe it's because my big brother is Charles, so he kind of helped raise me, and so I have the same kind of ideologies. But with that being said, I feel like, okay, how do you know that your enemy has these tools to hurt you if they wanted to? And you just stated the laws are in their favor. So at the end of the day, if you come get me and mine, I'm gonna take you out too. We're not gonna be looking. I'm not gonna be one of the mothers on TV or when it's like, oh my God, I can't believe what happened. I'm gonna be taking some people out with me.
That's not reality. That literally is the fantasy, right? There's
I don't think that's the fantasy.
It is, right? So here's the thing. Most of the time, especially when we're talking about dying in the hands of the police, right? Especially then, it's always, I thought he was reaching for a weapon. And the only time that we're ever vindicated a little bit, even if we're dead, and the reason that the world is taking notice is because he wasn't reaching for a weapon. He didn't have a weapon. It gets so much worse when they say, I thought he was reaching for a weapon, and he did. Now, nobody in the world wants to hear about it. You're dead anyway. The difference is in one case, the world takes notice. In the other case, well, he was big, black, scary, and had a gun.
Go ahead, Specs. You was about to say something? Wait, let Specs say something real quick.
Yeah, that's not real. I wouldn't even say fair. That's just not reality. Like most times, they already assume you have to understand. Being a black man, they assume you have a gun anyway. Cell phones, you have a gun. Your hand, you have a gun. So you already have that perception. Having a gun doesn't change that. What changes, what a gun does, it equalizes things, right? So if you ever been robbed or you seen a gang coming to you, that gun equalizes that. Like I actually teach martial arts. So that was an equalizer. I got jumped several times and I've won. But that was the equalizer. A gun will equalize things. So anybody can say, I fear for my life. He had a cell phone. I thought it was a gun. But I'd rather have a gun and equalize that situation than you dictate to me my life.
Yeah.
So that's my equalizer. I can hope that you won't kill me, but how's that working? How's it ever work for us? So you'll think twice if you pull and I'm faster than you, or I have more of a skill set. So, but me not having a gun is me hoping that you spare me, or whatever you've done or finished doing to me, then you spare me. And I don't want to give you that power. I'd rather take that power for myself.
That's and just to
go ahead,
Ty.
And I definitely understand where you're coming from, Liz and Charles and Specs. I truly understand where you're coming from as well. Like, if we have this right, let's exercise our right. Why are we not doing what we're allowed to do? We're given the right to do this because of fear. Because I tell you what, those same gun-toting folks that might shoot at someone like Trayvon Martin for walking in that area will not go to the hood knowing the hood has nothing but guns. You won't see them show up there. So when you Specs, when you talk about equalizing and like the level playing field, that's what I visualize. They make sure they'll stay out of that area because they know.
But it goes even more than that. It goes even more than that. Okay. When I was down in Florida, I got stopped by 2 good old boy police officers. When they run my plate, okay, first of all, my plate on the back, whatever, says combat infantryman. All right. So you right off the bat know when you pull me over, whatever, who you're going to be dealing with. Okay. That's what the plate says. But when you run my plate, my concealed carry license comes up immediately. Boom, 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 boom. Concealed carry owner. I get stopped by the police officer. Police officer comes up, whatever. It's hello, sir. Immediately his attitude changed, whatever. Okay. You can tell they didn't like the fact, whatever, that I was a concealed carry owner, bro. He goes, "Are you armed?" And I said, "Well, I certainly am." And he says, "Oh, can you mind let me know where your firearms?" I said, I have 3 firearms in this vehicle. He said, 3? Why 3? I said, so I can transition from one to the other without taking a break. Okay. And the cold silence of that answer, whatever, he said, "Well, I'm just letting you know that you this was a stop sign, blah blah blah, whatever, some traffic thing that had changed, and I had been paying attention, whatever, X, Y, and Z. Just be careful next time, sir." I said, "Thank you, officer." Okay, and I was in a discussion, whatever. Okay, all right, because he knew if he had tried to play me, okay, I would have left his ass on the side of the fucking road. Okay, and not had one freaking thought about it. Okay, and if more African American males went ahead and had that mentality, okay, and on top of the fact, whatever, okay, boom, guess what? Camo's the greatest thing you got. Okay, everything should be recorded from the jump street. You don't have to threaten anybody, all right? But guess what? Okay, you let them know what your mentality is, whatever. Okay, listen. I will kill your freaking ass, whatever, okay, if you mess with me and my family. And guess what?
I want to say this.
Told police officers basically that without even saying it.
Wait,
I will leave your ass on the street, whatever, and walk over your dead body.
Wait.
I don't say that initially, whatever. I make them read between the lines.
Wait. So let me just put a couple of disclosures out there.
The fact is, most black men are not black men.
Wait. Time out. We're gonna time out. We're gonna put the T for time out. So I want to say a disclosure real quick because one thing that I do know, like I said, me and my brother was raised in the same household, and we think very similar. I think I have a more subtle approach. No, I have a more subtle approach, with a smile on mine. He's kind of straight, at it. But with that being said, I want to say this in a different perspective. If you know that you already have and we said this before on one of the other shows, if you already have a target on your back, if you already know that you're living in a world where the rules are not set up for you to play and win this game, then you need to prepare yourself. Right now, if a person does not, in my opinion, if a person does not own a firearm, if a person doesn't own something to protect themselves, and somebody comes into your house and where your kids are sleeping, maybe even in your car where somebody could bother you, and things are getting crazy time after time. How can you then say, well, I thought maybe I should have prayed on it? No, you should always be able to protect yourself. And at the end of the day, I just don't understand. I don't understand why, if you have the right to carry a weapon, why doesn't one do so? Of course, there should be. You should be right-minded. Of course, you should be able to know how to shoot your weapon properly. It's not a gun. You shouldn't just have it laying around so the toddler could pick it up and like, woo, we're playing cowboys and Indians and these things. There should be classes where a person can teach and these different things so you can protect yourself. But we can all agree on this panel that the times have definitely changed and they're getting worse by the second. So if they're getting worse by the second, how can we not have nothing? I'm like, well, hey, you got some pepper? No, I don't have no pepper spray. You got a knife? I don't got a knife.
Here's the thing though. You will feel this small, whatever, if someone was to break into your house, whatever, okay, and molested one of your kids. I had a home invasion up when I was stationed up in Tallahassee. Okay, it is not fun to have your dog wake you up when you have a sleeping disorder. Okay, you're trying to go to sleep and your dog wakes you up, whatever, because there's movement in your backyard. Followed 2 seconds later, whatever, by your back door being smashed. Okay, when you have your daughter sleeping in the room, her bedroom's at the end of the house, whatever. Okay, but thankfully I was armed, whatever. Okay, and I came around that corner, whatever. Okay, boom, 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 done deal. Oh, registered sex offender. Okay, 2 registered sex offenders. Well, I'm sorry, they were registered sex offenders. Okay, all right, they will not be They will not be registering with anyone anymore. All right, okay. End of discussion. All right. How can you not? The greatest love that you could ever show your children, your family members, is to protect them. Do whatever it takes to protect them. All right. How could you not take advantage of those laws? Maybe you're not the type of person who wants to go around carrying a gun. Carrying a firearm is a way of life. Okay. The minute you put that firearm on you and you walk outside the house, you have to change your entire way of life, from the way that you dress, from your coats, to your shirts, everything, whatever. Okay. However, okay. If your state allows you, has was it eminent domain laws, where the castle laws, where your domicile is your castle, and you can defend your castle with violence if necessary, whatever. Guess what? You can go ahead. Oh no, actually, and I'm gonna disagree with you right now. Philando Castile, the last person, Zai, I'm gonna respond to that right now.
Wait, let's get to the comments. Wait, let's get to the comments. Wait.
Wrong. I'm gonna check that right there. That's the level of ignorance that goes along in the black community.
Wait, here we go.
Okay?
T for timeout. Let's get to the comments, please. So I'm gonna start here.
You want me to read it first?
Oh yeah,
read it, please.
Wait.
Let me read it, Kia. Can you please pull it up?
I was gonna, but let's just backtrack and then we'll go to this because we had a lot of comments.
Charles, can you just hold for a second?
Okay.
Okay.
Lord.
They don't even roll up on the white men who are actively harming people. They get to walk away in handcuffs.
That is true.
Depending where you live, the white man who sent a bomb down in the village 5 years ago, whatever. Guess what? NYPD rolled up on him and put 2 in him. The white man who was Muslim, who rolled up and drove his vehicle on the Lower East Side, whatever, okay, crashing through and killed 2 people, whatever, here in New York. Guess what? He got rolled up on, and he is no longer with us. So again,
that's case by case, though.
Right. We know it. We do know there's always an exception to the rule, but I'm assuming that we're looking at, they're talking about the bigger picture. You know, we could always name those cases where it did or didn't happen. But again, the bigger picture, let's be real. We are less likely to walk away versus.
Well, not even that. I don't want to say the guy's name. I don't want to.
More white men, more white people have been killed by police officers.
Well, statistically, there's more white people, but statistically, there's more white people in the United States to begin with. Anywhere. That's why you can't even use the comparison black on black crime, right? Because we don't even have the numbers to make that comparison.
But again, that's that same thing. Whatever. Okay, numbers wise, whatever. Okay, the police officers are still bumping off more white shooters than they are black people.
Well, let's talk about this. Well, here's the kicker, though, because
we need to get this.
Wait.
Are we going to another question?
Yeah, we're gonna go to another comment. We'll get to.
I was like, okay,
Charles,
no.
Wait, Charles, are you holding?
He's holding.
Okay.
I like Charles.
Say.
Let him breathe for a second.
Oh
Just let him roll.
Okay, go ahead.
It's odd we only know about the cases with unarmed black men being shot. We never hear about the cases with an armed black man, which is true, but we also have to think about the narrative that the media paints. You know, they want us to see whatever they want us to see.
Okay.
No such thing as a level playing field with black and whites. That's a fantasy in itself.
Okay. We got Charles Crazy.
I'll take it.
Charles
take
don't
it.
take no BS.
I mean, Charles had that badge for a long time. He like this. I'm good, son.
Yeah,
Charles
good.
ain't crazy. Charles is trained.
I
He
think
is
I know
trained.
I know this person. I don't think that they mean crazy like
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
no,
they
we-
mean like
No.
He wildin'. Yo, son, yo, he's wild.
He
Okay.
ready.
He's
He
still
ready.
waiting.
You better recognize. And then we have the last comment. Go ahead, Ty.
Okay.
Your
I guess your situation was the exception, not the rule. Philando Castle had a license to carry, and they killed him because they thought he was reaching for his gun.
Okay, so let's touch upon that, and that's a very good important subject. Why?
Hold on.
Okay,
Hold on,
Wait.
real quick. Hold up. He could have had a phone and got the same result. So that's not had nothing to do with his gun. He
Right.
could have reached for. How many black men have reached for the license when the cop asked for it?
Mhm.
Okay.
So
Oh.
that's no.
okay. So
No.
let's
Go ahead.
let's talk about the Philando Castile situation. Okay, so when you receive a concealed carry permit, which he was a concealed carry permit holder, one of the stipulations for that concealed carry permit is that when you have your permit, you have your firearm with you. The two go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Okay, I mean you can't have the firearm without the permit. You can have the permit, not have the firearm, that you choose to do so, whatever. But if you're carrying that firearm, you must have that permit. When you take your concealed carry permit class, and anyone who's ever taken one, whatever, it tells you you cannot be inebriated while you're carrying that firearm. Okay? So, case closed. He was high off the bat. Okay? So, what he did, all he did off the bat was put himself in the wrong situation because he was high. All right?
He wasn't even driving.
It does mean something. You cannot be inebriated. You cannot be high. You cannot have drugs in your possession when you are a concealed firearm holder. Okay? Up through his entire license out the window. I'm not finished yet. I'm not finished because it gets worse. Okay? Secondly, okay, when you are a concealed carry firearm holder, all right, and you get stopped by the police officers, whatever, okay, you are a one, depending on the state you live in, and this is the state that he lives in, whatever, okay, is under no obligation to inform that officer that you are armed. That's the state law that he lived in.
Right.
Okay, now certain states you must identify yourself. For example, if I live here in New York and I had a concealed carry permit and I got stopped by the police, I must legally tell the officer the minute I'm stopped that I'm carrying a firearm. That is the law. But for his state, the answer is no. He does not have to tell that police officer. And third, and this is right here is the biggest kicker, and this is the biggest why I'm like, dude, why are you so stupid? When you get stopped by a police officer and you are a concealed carry firearm holder, all right, what you do when that officer comes up to your window, you have all your documentation in hand ready to give to the officer.
He wasn't driving.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It does.
It doesn't.
You think you are not a concealed carry holder. So your opinion in this, whatever, I'm sorry, Liz, whatever, is invalid. When
No,
you get
they don't have a
stopped
right to ask
by
him
a
for
police,
anything
when you
or
get
even
stopped-
speak to him.
No, I'm talking about the law, and this is the problem with African Americans. They don't want to understand the law. The law states that if you are going to go ahead and you have a firearm in that car, when you get stopped and you're going to present that information to the police officer, okay, you should have that information in your hand ready to give to the officer so that there is no confusion with anything. So if I'm a passenger and someone else is driving and we get stopped by a police officer, prior to the officer coming over, I'm going to have my information in my hand just in case he does ask, is there a gun inside the car? Because then you legally must tell the officer.
And I think
you don't know what the officer is going to say. It's a 50-50 chance. He may ask, are you armed? He may not ask if you're armed. But as a responsible gun owner, You must have that ready so that when you are asked, here, that's all you have to do.
And so should you drive around with it on your lap with all your paperwork in your hands? How should that work? Because if they're pulling you over and now you're reaching for anything, so that by the time you roll down their window, they're ready. The moment
where do we live in?
Lighten it up.
We are adults. We are adults. Okay. Where do you keep your information? Why does it take you 30 freaking years to go ahead and grab something that should be?
It could take you 5 seconds. If you reach into your glove box, they see you reaching.
Before the
officer has even came over.
Before the officer,
Woo, 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 woo. Oh, there's red lights behind me. Oh, what should I do? Oh, let me go ahead and grab my stuff. That's the scenario I'm laying out.
So you're being pulled over, and whether you're driving or not, you're reaching into pockets or sections or wherever.
You don't have to reach. I don't have to reach for my wallet. Guess what? My driver's license is attached right here to my dashboard.
Let's put the T for timeout one more time. So the reason why I want to say that, so here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. So going into a situation, if I leave my house and to go to work or whatever the case may be, I have a big purse. I have all types of things. I feel I would be negligent as a driver if when the police pulls me over, I'm digging through my purse and I'm like, wait, where's the lipstick? Where's this? Especially if I have a gun on me. I need to have that stuff right by the visor. I need to have that stuff right there. The same way that you're keeping your
license and registration,
all this stuff. And now here's a kicker. Now that's the thing. We have to realize the world that we're living in. Police officer, well, I felt that he was reaching. I felt this. So if you already know, if the police officer, no matter what you do, you're not going to win the situation. You're not going to win the argument with the cop. You're not going to do this and all these other things.
That's my point. You're not going to win.
But since you know you're not going to win, have it already. If right now, if the cop pulls me over and now I'm already high because I was on one and I'm like, wait a second now, hold up. And I'm over here reaching. Now I have to depend on him and his perspective. Well, is she reaching for a gun? What's she doing? He don't like me to begin with. He's trying to get one already off. So that's the thing. And we're not trying to, for me, I'm not trying to say Philando Castile, he definitely died in vain. It's very unfortunate that his baby had to see it. The woman that he was with had to go through the experiences of his, but I just hate the fact that we just don't know the rules. We just don't know the laws. Every single state is different in reference to what you have to do and what you have to tell the police officer and these things. A lot of people think it's a universal type of scenario. I don't play with police officers at all. If I see a cop behind me clocking me, I am already on the phone with somebody like, okay, I know he clocking me. I'm going to the next lane. Okay, wait a second. I'm already have my stuff because I'm not taking zero chances. I don't want to fumble. I don't want to drop nothing. I don't want my mace to fall. I don't want nothing. I don't even want to have a conversation with you. But that's how I'm preparing already because I want to come home to my kids. I'm not going to have that mindset of, wait a second, the cop comes over and then I'm dropping shit. Well, why am I dropping stuff for? So yes, once again, we don't want to put that situation. He should not have died. He did not have anything. He wasn't trying to hurt the police officer, but the police officer felt threatened once again. Until we change that, because every police officer has this feeling, and based on that feeling is how they end up deciding what they want to do. So at the end of the day, we have to know our state laws. We have to know what we should be saying to the police officers, what we should not be saying, because we all can agree the rules are not set up for us. They're not set up for us at all.
He's an irresponsible gun owner. That is why he died. Okay? And his lack of responsibility for having that firearm, that lack of responsibility for having a firearm in the car with his daughter in the backseat, being high, which you're not supposed to, okay? Which negates his legality right then and there. Okay, so all this talk that he was a legal gun owner, no, he was not. He was an illegal gun owner because he was high. You cannot be high with a concealed carry license. In discussion, that is the law. Okay, he failed to follow the law. He failed to do what was necessary and gave his power away to that police officer.
That's what I can agree on. I can agree on the fact that he gave his power away. When you put yourself in a situation where the cops have the power, then it's a wrap.
Because if you're wearing something too short and too low when you get raped, it's your fault?
No, we're not victim blaming.
That's what
I am. I'm blaming.
I'm
blaming. Philando Castile died because he was stupid. That is why he died. Okay? All right.
I would say negligent. I would say
an irresponsible person carrying a firearm.
I would say Fidel was definitely negligent in the actions that he did.
Yeah.
I mean, at the
He
end
was
of the day,
irresponsible. I mean, like he was.
well, let me
Go
ask you
ahead.
this, Liz. Let me ask you this, Liz. Let me ask you this, Liz. So right now you're not a concealed, weapons owner. But if
No.
you knew the rules, right? If you knew the rules, you had the handbook, you just graduated, got your little certificate and everything, would you? I'm assuming that you would feel a little bit differently, because guess what? If you did the opposite of what the rules stated, and then now you put the power into somebody who already wants you, they don't want you to come home to your family. So you're giving them that power. So that's the frustrated thing, that I'm like, man, here goes another black man did.
But we're not giving them the power. You asked me, but the thing is, we're not giving them the power. They have the power. I think that Specs kind of chimed in for just a second, right? That it doesn't matter if it was a gun, if he was not a legal firearm, if he wasn't carrying a gun, if he was carrying a wallet, whatever it was, he was dead already. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, the time you got pulled over and you decided to reach for anything, I mean, unless we're going to start driving around with our licenses and registration taped to the
right here on
dashboard,
no.
or anything like that, I mean, we're dead already. The moment you reach for something, it's over. Philando happened to be a registered gun owner, but that's not the point of the story. Not even a little bit. You had one guy walking around Walmart buying a gun, and he was shot dead in Walmart, buying the gun in Walmart. Why? Because he was black, not because he was stupid, not because it was his fault or anything. That's how that works. Somebody else brought up, we're not going to name them, but the people that those two boys in Boston that planted a bomb and got into a full-on shootout with the police, they're alive and well. They're fine.
One of them did. One of
them, they managed to take him in fine. The other kid in North Carolina that lit up the church, they stopped and got him a cheeseburger. This one in Georgia, the police said he was having a bad day. He was having a bad day. A bad day. He killed 8 people. But you know what though? He had a mental problem and he was having a bad day. Funny though, because when Philando died, he was stupid. When Trayvon died, he was a thug. Weird, because when they do shit, they're having a bad day. When our people do it, they found the worst pictures from 8th grade where you got your little cell phones up and everything else. You're the worst thug ever in all of America, right? I mean, let a Mexican do something, that they're part of the cartel. It can't just be a Mexican having a bad day. It can't.
No,
be.
You're right. No, you're absolutely right. There is a spin that the media puts out there. So then as the masses, we're like, yeah, what's really going on? If you're a Muslim, you're a terrorist. If you're black, you're a thug. If you're white, you definitely were having that bad day, or you have some type of mental disorder. But I guess the issue with me is just, once again, like Breonna Taylor, she died in her house, in her bed. There are many different scenarios where people get shot by the police and it's reckless. Tamir Rice, he in Ohio, open carry state. He's playing with a toy handgun. And right after they say freeze, and had the little, command, they shoot him like instantly, within 30 seconds, done.
Actually, it was less time than that, and they actually didn't say anything.
Well, my bad.
From the time the door opens, he gets out, he fires. All that happened within 4 seconds.
So, but here's the scenario. So I do understand what you're saying, Liz. I just think that if you are put in a situation where we have to deal with the law and officers, don't give them anything. Now, I'm not saying that they're not situations where we don't give them anything, but don't add to it. Like if there's a difference. If a cop walks up to me or whatever, when I was younger, I'm like, what the hell you want? And giving them that sass or whatever. And now I'm like, here you go. Just preparing, because I want to de-escalate the situation as possible. I don't want to give them any type of thing. I don't want to have a conversation with you. I don't want to talk about the weather. I don't want to do any of this. Let's go ahead to the comments real quick, Ty. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to say, how about let's take the police out of this discussion real fast, right? Mm-hmm. Because they are not the biggest threat and the only threat. There are other threats we have in our community with our own and with terrorists, the white nationalists, and just people that want to just take your stuff. So if you take police out of it, that's almost more of a reason to have a gun. Have you ever walked outside at night and felt somebody walking behind you and keeping a certain pace with you, and you just felt uncomfortable? Stuff like that makes you think, or them being robbed before. or been shot at or whatever. There are things that happen constantly that will really tell you that you need to carry a gun. So we can focus on the police, but really, and I used to live in Baltimore. I'm from DC, but living in Baltimore, Jesus, I don't know how you not carry a legal gun. Like, and home invasions there are extremely common.
They're kicking in the door and waving the 4-4. I'm sorry. Oh,
yeah, like Baltimore, it's common. One time I was at work and somebody got shot and all these police are flying. A cop was home sleeping. Home invasion. 2 guys came in. I guess they didn't know he was a cop. And luckily he had his firearm near his bed. They came upstairs, came in the house, and he shot him. And then when he called it in, of course, all the police that were in the area flew to him. But that's how common it is. They breaking in cops' houses. So the police is one thing, one reason, and you should know your laws, but there's so many other reasons why you should have something to protect yourself and your home and your family. Because if that person has a gun and you don't, you're the subject to what they want to do with you and if they want you to live or not. I don't want to give anybody that power.
Exactly. Never give your power away.
Let me just read this comment here. If they have the power, you're giving them more power by being irresponsible. You need to limit their power by being smart. Being stupid and arrogant increases your chance of death. By the way, that's my son. He's a cop. I love him. Oh my God, I swear to God. I'm so proud of you. Anyway, no, but it's definitely true. I mean, I've been in situations where you can definitely de-escalate a situation, but for whatever reason, you feel like turning up that day. You might have been having a true bad day. I mean, and it goes down. I mean, at the end of the day, it's definitely based on the topic that we're talking about. It can be either way. Somebody says they have killed whites too. Alistair, it's not just the media. It starts on the ground level with the police officers. And then we have one more here. We have racist cops and they need to be removed. I mean, well,
it goes more than this beyond racist cops, because you have African-American and Latino police officers. You have Asian police officers, whatever, okay,
yeah.
that do terrible things as well, okay? For example, right up here in the Bronx, whatever, okay, two African-American police officers, an African-American and a Latino police officer, okay, were angry over the fact that a marijuana dealer that they know sells weed, whatever, was released because they did not do the arrest the right way. So because they failed to do the arrest the right way, he had to be released. So he threw a little snicker at him, whatever, ha, 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 I got off, whatever, okay? These 2 police officers followed this guy and down the alleyway, whatever, okay? Beat the living daylights out of him, whatever, okay? And then walked away as if nothing happened, whatever, okay? Well, they got caught on video doing this, okay? And the superintendent of the building turned it in. It went up to the DA, whatever. Both guys got arraigned. Police officers are up in arms saying, "Oh, you're going after police officers. You're going after police officers. These are 2 good cops, whatever." Yeah, well, they may have been good cops. Now they're no longer good cops, whatever. Okay, he's African American. The other one's Latino. Okay, they're not racist cops, whatever. Okay, they are empowered police officers. Okay, and that power that they have, okay, puts them in a situation where they can go ahead and enforce their will on you. And they're going to enforce their will on you. But if you know the law, okay, and you strategize, the key thing is strategy, okay? You strategize correctly, whatever, you increase your chances of surviving an encounter with them. Does not necessarily mean you're going to, all right? Does that mean necessarily whatever that you may come out and losing it, but you increase the odds of your survivability whatever, by knowing the law. And unfortunately, Black people don't know the law. Okay, they want to talk to the cops. Anything, what do you not understand about anything you say or will be held against you in a court of law? Stop at the mouth. Stop at the mouth. Okay, when they ask you something, license, registration, boom, give it to them, and Shut the hell up.
Do you think? Let me say this. Let me ask this question to everybody: Ty, Liz, Specs, Charles. Do you think that all states, just to make it fair, maybe our politicians, maybe even working at the federal level all the way down, they should just make a universal gun law in reference to, because like one state would be different. Like New York has completely opposite gun laws than Florida does, and then California versus Mississippi. Do you think it just needs one flat gun law so then everybody knows, it's not, oh yeah, I crossed this borderline? Because I remember one time I was with my brother and he's like, hey, hold this ammo for me. And I'm like, what am I doing with this? And he's like, well, because in New York, I guess in Jersey, there's like a locker safe that you could put your stuff in because you can't take it to New York. And I'm like, wow, is it that serious?
Yeah.
Do you guys think that it should just be one universal law?
Well, some states kind of have that. Yeah, like some states, like Florida, Texas, Ohio, Pennsylvania. It's like 36 states. My concealed carry, I can go to any of those states and carry. Like in Florida is one of them. So some states do kind of do that, and some states are kind of rogue.
It's called a reciprocity.
So it's kind of, so some states are like hell no, and some states are kind of have an agreement. So yeah, it's kind of something like that already, but not quite. If that makes any sense.
So one of the things that Donald Trump, when he was president, wanted to do was have a universal gun license, firearm license, similar to what you have a driver's license. If you're drivers from Florida or from Hawaii, you can literally drive in any of the states, and that actually passed the Senate. All right, so we have the Senate, a Republican-controlled Senate, and a Republican-controlled House. It passed the Senate. It did not go to the House of Representatives for vote. Why? Because of the police unions. You see, the police unions, okay, and this is what we're talking about power, okay? The police unions and the police chiefs have a great deal to say when it comes to gun laws in this country. You see, that voting power that they have, okay, through their union block and through the union finances, whatever, okay, allows them to back up certain people who will vote for certain laws, things of that nature. So here in New York City, the reason why you literally, unless you have money, you are not getting a gun license, whatever, or a business, whatever, that requires you, that's on that list of a business like a jeweler or something that handles a lot of money, whatever, you're not going to be able to get a license in a place like New York City. It's because of the police unions. Okay, they are involved in putting in politicians and supporting politicians that will not relax the gun laws here in New York City. New York State specifically, you have to have 2 different gun licenses. If you want to, you live out of New York, the 5 boroughs, you have to have a New York State gun license, which is good for the entire state, except New York City. New York City's gun license is only good for the 5 boroughs. The minute you leave the 5 boroughs, you're illegal. Therefore, you have to have a New York State gun license. So we live in a state where you literally have to have 2 gun licenses to be able to go anywhere within this actual state. There needs to be I believe needs to be a form of reciprocity among all the states. States are never going to give away that power of state rights to determine how they want to do things. That's one of the beauties of the union of our country, but also it's one of the biggest flaws with our country is the fact, whatever, okay, that you're going to have, these different laws all over the entire country that are basically really illogical.
Well, don't you think, and let me ask you this, don't you think that the system within itself is just all ass backwards? Because if you look at it, a poor neighborhood in Chicago, how can a person, and I remember they did an amnesty program one time and somebody came through with a bazooka. Like, how the hell you get a bazooka? Like, little Leroy on the corner cannot afford a bazooka. These are illegal handguns and firearms that they have. Someone's dumping them. Or, I remember somebody said that they went and they bought a whole bunch of guns like at little bears that they have.
Yeah.
And then they selling them on the black market to Little Leroy or whoever the case may be, just so that there can be the crime. And, you know, because Chicago does have a high rate of crime and these things. I mean, don't you think it's kind of like a setup? Because that goes back to the initial question that I asked, you know, wouldn't they change the gun laws, you know, if we started?
Chicago is a bad example. Okay. No one cared about no one spoke about guns and the violence in Chicago, whatever, until it was African Americans that were the predominant shooters. When the Jews were the gangsters in the 20s, no one, you know, there was gun violence. When the Italians took over, the Italian mafia took over, the Italian organized crime in the 30s and 40s, guess what? There was gun violence in Chicago. When the Latinos took over in the late 60s, into the 70s, into the early 80s, guess what? There was gun violence. Chicago's always had gun violence. It's always been that way. It is never. I don't believe Chicago will ever change. It is the hub of criminal behavior, from the Jewish mafia, the Italian mafia, the Latin gangs, the black gangs. Okay? It's always been that way.
Go ahead, Liz.
So, couple things, because I know we've been talking about, and I've been trying to get the facts really quickly. Couple things that I know way early on in the show, Charles mentioned something about like all the states have anti-domestic violence type gun laws, if you would. I'm paraphrasing, so bear with me. But literally, 31 states do not ban convicted misdemeanor stalkers from owning guns. 41 states do not force convicted domestic abusers from relinquishing their guns that they already own.
Right.
So you might not be able to buy it more.
Right.
But if you have an arsenal at home, it's yours because nobody's coming to knock on your door to take your guns. That's literally 31 states. Stalkers can have guns. 41 states. Convicted, not accused of, convicted domestic violence. People convicted of domestic violence can keep their guns. That's a problem. We also talked earlier about the idea that, you know, you're leveling the playing field and no one's going to mess with you because you have a gun. And I said that's a fantasy. Between 2007 and 2011, there were 29,618,300 violent crimes. Of those, 0.79%, less than 1% of the victims protected themselves from the threat with the use of a firearm. Out of 29 million, you're talking about 235,700 people use a firearm to protect themselves. Now, good for those 235,000, but you're talking about less than 1%. Having a gun does not make you Superman. Actually, in those instances, no. if a gun is present and you're the one that the crime was being perpetrated against you, chances are you're the one that's going to die in that situation, whether you're the gun owner or not, especially if you're a woman. I don't know the exact stats on that. I'm trying not to do too much of this while I'm on air, but especially if you're a woman, if you have a firearm, chances are that firearm will be used on you. It does not help the situation. In a lot of instances, in 235,000 instances, it did out of 30 million. Just keep those numbers in mind.
It's funny. Well, before you speak upon that, Charles, I've seen your eyes looking at your computer too. Everybody's like, "Well, fact check." With that being
said, that's a lot of fuzziness in those numbers. So I'm trying to. So how did they defend themselves, or they did defend themselves? Like,
well, I have to also put this out there. Just because a person owns a gun doesn't mean they're properly trained in using that firearm, which is very unfortunate. I know plenty of people who, I got guns on deck. And they turning them sideways, ready to go. That's not how you shoot. You know, you have to treat the weapon with respect. You know, so at the end of the day, if your weapon is backfiring and pop you somewhere, we can see you're not going to end up getting hit because of the perp in your house. You're going to end up shooting your own self. Plenty of people have misfired and all types of stuff. I mean, it goes always back to the scenario of you have to educate yourself. Yes, you see it all the time. The young kids, I got a gun and I got this. I had somebody tell me some crazy stuff, what they were doing with their weapons. I won't even put too much detail out there. But when the individual was telling me like, yeah, you know, my friend has this weapon, he did this and this. I'm like, what? Like, who taught him how to, like, these things are not toys. These are very serious things that could
Right.
take someone's life. So you have to educate yourself. And once again, going back to it, if you happen to be around a police officer, try to de-escalate the situation. No, we're not saying that by you de-escalating the situation, he's not having a bad day and you still get hemmed up somewhere. We're not saying that. We're just saying do what you can do. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like when you use your spidey sense. When you knew your mom was about to whoop your ass and your brother was getting beat or something, that's when you stay quiet and be like, and you start fading in the darkness because you ain't trying to get beat or nothing like that. You just got to kind of know the timing. I mean, but back to the whole gun control law. Do you feel, Specs, Charles, Ty, Liz, the people out there who are listening, do you feel that it will be a time where we will literally have somebody knocking at the door saying, hey, let me get those firearms? Because I know there are the progressives in the liberal side who are really, really gun-ho, like we want those guns. Nobody should have a machine gun in their house. No one should carry an AR. Do you think that time will come?
No,
Not in our generation, not in our time.
no.
It'll come. but
And
it'll
our
take-
rate
it'll
was
take some
too
time.
much money from no.
So then why do you think the conservatives are so scared about it then? Said, you're not taking my guns, not from
They're not.
their
It's a
hands.
scare tactic.
Fear
They will
sell.
look at the
Fe-
people scared and use
Fear
it
and
as a
sex
tactic.
sell.
That right.
And the majority of the people that are in the conservative side, whatever, okay, majority of the politicians are Republican. Majority of those people, whatever, belong to one ethnic demographic or identify with one ethnic demographic. And those people of European descent, what we call white here in this country. Okay. For the scared white man, firearms is his safety net. Police are their safety net. Okay. The origin of policing here in the United States, all you have to do is look at the police museum down in DC. It says their roots start with the slave patrols. All right. So the very fact that law enforcement in this country, although they utilized the rules from England, okay, they adopted the rules from England when this country was formed. Those police systems, whatever, okay, started from the system of oppression, which was the slave patrols, the slave police, or they were law in states where slavery had been outlawed, like up in Massachusetts, up in New York, whatever, okay, they were responsible for returning enslaved persons back to bondage. Okay. And you can find all those newspapers, whatever, they're all over the place, whatever, for that proof, whatever. But the fact still remains, whatever, okay? Guns and the police is the scared white persons.
go hand in hand.
Yeah, they go hand in hand, and they're the scared white persons. That's their savior, along with Jesus. Okay, so when you add all three together, whatever, all three have been weapons that have been utilized to suppress people of brown skin. Okay, so now here's the question: you live here in this country. There are rules in this country. It's a game, the game of cultural warfare. Are you going to play the game to win? Or are you going to play the game just to get along, to be along? So, if you play the game to go along, to be along, whatever, then I guess, whatever, Liz's opinions, whatever, will shine with you, whatever, okay? All right? But if you're in the game to win, okay, checkmate, all right, then you have to go ahead, understand the laws, and utilize those laws to your advantage.
So I have a question. Even with the laws and being able to obtain a firearm, do you see that there is a difference in us being able to obtain one versus, I'm going to say, white people? I call them white people. And it kind of goes back to the question you asked earlier, Liz. I mean, Kia, I'm sorry, in regards to pretty much a standard across the board regulation. But
Yes.
you know, if you're looking at the different states and how they incarcerate people of color, it might make it harder for some folks to be able to obtain a firearm. So you have a white people that may not be charged with domestic violence or be labeled as a pedophile because, and I know back being a rapist and domestic violence advocate, but again, you get arrested, you don't get charged with the crime, so you don't get put on the books versus us being arrested and actually being charged with the crime. So
I know people of color that's happened to, whatever, and they weren't charged with the crime. Why? Because they have money.
But I'm not, there's always an exception to the rule. I'm not saying there's not an exception to the rule, but I'm, just the bigger picture. And this is, asking the question because I don't know. Do you think it's a difference in us obtaining a firearm versus our counterparts because of the laws?
There are no laws on any state's book, whatever, okay, that says because of your color, you cannot get approved.
Well, it doesn't say that word.
Not the color. So let me correct myself.
Or ethnicity.
Yeah, let me correct myself. I don't want there to be misunderstanding. I guess I'm not. When I understand what you're saying, Ty. When I speak of color in regards to that aspect, I'm speaking of how we are
disadvantaged.
Thank you. Disadvantaged when it comes to the legal system. That's that's what I mean.
The legal system that's set up for you to acquire a license. The only thing I'm talking about. The legal system that's set up for you to acquire a license is universal across for every single American citizen that lives in that state. So example, for Florida, okay? For Florida, the Florida driver's license, to get a concealed carry permit, you cannot have a felony.
That's what she's asking.
Okay? Right. And okay, you cannot have a domestic violent charge in Florida. Okay? For violence if you have concealed carry permit. All right? So, as long as you don't have that, as long as you're of age 21, and as long as you have the money, which is about 200 and change, all right? Okay? A price of a moderate use cell phone, all right? You can go ahead and purchase an actual firearm. And there's not going to be any problem long as you meet those criteria that I just stated for you. All right? Now, as far as education is concerned, Florida requires you to have, in order for you to have a concealed carry permit, for you to have education. There's a price for that as well. Now, someone like myself, because of the fact that I was in the military, all right, and like my sister, we were in the military, all we got to do is show up with our DD-214, submit that, that's our education, that meets our requirement for the actual state of Florida, that allows us to go ahead and conceal a permit. Here's the problem where race will come in. Because we need time for you to purchase that firearm. You see, a lot of the gun stores in Florida will sell a minority person a junk firearm. Okay? Quickly.
That's true.
Okay? So there's a company called Budget Arms. They will push Budget Arms. And it's called Budget Arms for a reason. Because the weapon is budget. It's a garbage weapon. But there's a market for that. Cheap, quick, easily made, but questionable parts, whatever. Okay, now they will push that on a minority person in a heartbeat. I've seen it. I've heard it. Okay, someone walks in, or a woman. They'll do that to a woman as well. All right. Now, if you're a person like myself who does the research, who knows what they want, whatever, okay, all right, I'm not going to ask the gun person, whatever, the dealership, whatever, okay, to give me, what's your recommendation for a good firearm? I'm going to do the research myself, whatever, and I'm going to walk in there and I'm going to say, I want a SIG, okay, I want a SIG P320, okay, one of the best firearms, modular firearms in the market right now, okay, all right, I'm not going to go for the Budget Arms, okay. All right. I'm not going to go. Remington used to have a great reputation. Not anymore. Remington makes bad products right now, especially the Colt 1911. It's a garbage. That Remington 1911 is a bad firearm, whatever, right? But you still have to do that research.
Right.
What the question was, is it harder for Black people to obtain firearms? Yes, the answer is yes. And
depending on what state you live in. The
it's
state
not
of Florida,
because the
no.
laws were written in a way that it doesn't allow us to have firearms. What has happened is that they
No, it
have
hasn't.
made it
No,
to
it
where
hasn't.
it's
That's
almost
your perception.
impossible for a man 40 years old with a darker complexion to make it to 40 without a criminal record or having gotten through. And that's if I'm not, am I understanding you correctly, Ty? If you have,
Yeah. So like you take in right, like what's it, New York. So you have a lot of out, you know, the men of color that went to jail for the sale of marijuana.
Yeah, but you also have men of color who didn't go to jail.
But no, what I'm
ratio is off
asking
in terms of white people going to jail for crimes versus black people. Look at who's
so does that affect how? Does that affect how, you know,
a misdemeanor marijuana charge is not going to get you denied for a firearm?
Domestic violence will.
Okay, it is not.
Domestic violence will. And when they show up to a Caucasian person's house, they'll show up and say he was having a bad day, and he won't get that charge. When they show up to any house in our neighborhood, they're taking you off in handcuffs, and you will have that charge, and you'll have it forever and ever, period. So that Caucasian person that was having a bad day can get a firearm for the rest of his life, and he can kill as many people as he wants to, even if he wants to walk up in an elementary school to do so. But a black person gets into an argument with his wife, and even if he doesn't put his hands on his wife, he can easily get arrested. Now he's got to go fight for his life in court, and chances are he's going to end up with that charge. And you know what? Now he can't vote, he can't have a gun, he can't have a lot of things. That's how they get us to lose our rights. That's the whole point.
Well,
that's
so just to,
that sounds like that's all punk. I'm sorry. Okay, listen, you have a responsibility as a person, whatever, to get your shit fucking together. All right. If you're gonna have a firearm, whatever, okay, there's certain rules that you can and cannot
follow your rules. Well, I want to talk about that one woman.
If you run into the bad cop, which we know there are bad cops out there, whatever. But if you run into the bad cop, whatever, okay, what I'm talking about is self-empowerment. What you're talking about is victimhood, whatever, okay? And that's why we don't correlate, okay?
Well, no. Wait, let me be clear about what I'm speaking about. Let me just be clear, because I was just asking a question, like if there would be a difference in, you know, people of color. Again, I'm just asking the question only because of what I see. I don't know the full law.
If a white man shows up with a domestic violence charge on his record and applies for a license, depending on which state that you live in, we're talking about Florida right now, whatever, or New York specifically. Let's talk about New York. All right. Any person with a domestic violence charge on their record, whatever, is not getting a gun license.
And
period.
This is and
doesn't matter what color you are.
And here's the kicker, though. The unfortunate thing, you know, being a domestic violence survivor, sometimes they'll find the weapons regardless how on the black market. So it's definitely unfortunate, you know, and it's funny because once the guns are out there, it's not as if they can be taken away, right. You know, and that's the unfortunate thing. You know, you're like, well, how about we fix the mental health institution, because there are people. I mean, you talk about these people having bad days, or they have a sex addiction, or they got this and this type of mental illness. But no one talks about the black guy that shoots up some place or his neighborhood because he has a mental illness. You know, you definitely don't hear that in the media. Everybody who shoots anybody and they're just doing it out of, you know, just because they want to do it or they was having that bad day has a mental illness.
But listen,
and it needs to be
I'm talking about the law.
Right.
The law doesn't care about
and I understand that.
That's the only thing I care about is the law.
The lines get blurred though, and right. Charles, thank you for keeping it on the street and narrow, because when we look at gun control and the debate, we do look at very specifics. Oh, when the cops that are shooting at the blacks and then black on black crime, that's not, even though that is a factor that contributes to the bigger picture, right? The what we're speaking about again is the regulation of sale and use of the firearm. That's what we're speaking about. Those regulatory things that goes on with gun control, not the personal victim or survivors of the incidents related to gun violence.
Well, going into that, it says, Ty, there's no difference between a white person and a black person obtaining a firearm from a gun store.
No, that's
Um,
not that. Okay, wait, that's not what I was asking though. But
mhm,
thank you.
mhm,
Yeah, but that maybe I didn't articulate it clearly. I
mhm.
mean, Liz, you understood exactly what I was asking, right? I apologize,
To
audience.
There's
take
I
it out of
didn't
guns,
there's the
to take
law,
it away from guns. Let's go to
and then there's the
just for a
system.
second. We'll
Okay.
move away from that, right?
All right.
Is I think okay. So let's use something else, right? Is a white person more likely to be able to vote their whole lives than a black person? The law says that if you're over 18 and yada yada yada, you can vote, right? However, if you're convicted of a felon, if you're a convicted felon, you may no longer be allowed to participate in elections.
But that
So-
pertains to anyone who's convicted of a felony, though.
right.
Correct. So
Right.
anybody
Right.
can be convicted of a felony, but who is more likely to be convicted of the felonies? What we're trying to this goes back to voting rights and voting laws. It goes to gun rights and gun laws and everything else, right? If we're disproportionately arrested, tried and convicted of crimes, then we disproportionately are losing our rights as afforded to us under the Constitution.
That's what I was asking.
correct.
Is there an impact with that? Thank
But
you,
the,
Liz.
the two do not
Thank
relate.
you.
There is the law that states who can own an actual gun. Those laws are not affected by the color of your skin in the state that you live in. Now, there's the other system that's
The
in
ability to
place.
participate, what she's asking about.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I'm
Those
asking.
two- but the two are not related. Okay, the gun law states whatever anyone in this group right here, Liz, Ty, Akia, Specs, myself, whatever. Okay, as long as we do not have a felony or have a domestic violence, whatever charge with us, okay, in a sizable percentage of the states, whatever. Okay, as long as we don't have that, whatever, we can go ahead and actually get a firearm, and there is no difference based upon your skin complexion. Now, the systemic racism, the unfair justice system, all that other stuff, whatever. Okay, that is a total separate freaking issue.
But that's not
goes back
right,
to the
but it's-
1700s.
So that's
unless
not a
we're correcting
segue.
all the BS from the 1700s, whatever, this is not the forum for that. Okay, we need to have
But
another
no,
forum for
I
that.
mean, I would ask because I understand what you're saying, but I would think that that would be a segue into why we cannot obtain a firearm because of a ridiculous
Listen,
arrest.
every single brother that I know, virtually every single brother that I know has a firearm, a legal firearm. I mean, what people do you socialize with, whatever, they can't get one?
It's
Okay.
not like-
I'm from Newburgh.
All right.
I was born in Newburgh.
I
so
know,
you don't
I
ask
know
that
thousands
question.
of people, whatever.
Don't even ask.
I'm part of several different gun clubs. There are brothers out there, whatever, with more firearms than me. Okay, there's a national black gun club.
I
You
know.
don't- Okay, all right.
So
There's that militia, the don't F with me militia, whatever they call it, whatever. Okay, that's like over 2,000 members deep. Every single one of them has firearms.
Nobody's saying that
Okay.
black people don't have guns or can't have guns. We're saying it's harder to keep our rights. That's all it was saying.
Well, I'll say this. That could be for part two. I definitely respect all you guys and love the perspectives. But I have one question for Specs, and then you last, Charles, and then we could kind of wrap it up. But Specs, do you think, and it's unfortunate, and I hate to ask the question, but do you feel just by the pattern in which we're headed from all the way from the 80s all the way current, that there will be more and more mass shootings? Do you really feel that, or do you feel that there will be some type of regulatory rules that come out finally, to kind of help with this? Because you look at other nations, they're nowhere near where we are when it comes to mass shootings. Mass shootings it's like a everyday thing these days. It's not even like, oh yeah, this and this, hit or miss. It's literally people getting desensitized because it happens so often.
Well, mass shootings, those numbers come from, all right, so let's take like Baltimore, right? So when 3-4 people get shot, that's a mass shooting. So they don't say that on the media, but it's counted as a mass shooting. So when a mass shooting happens at a school and they bring it up and they say 14 mass shootings happened last week, that one in Baltimore was counted. So is something going to change? No. We were founded on a violent culture. we still have a violent culture. Guns are not going anywhere. There's a lot of lone wolves out there. So, and the laws that are coming up now do not address that at all. What they're trying to do is make it harder. It's almost like voting, right? They're trying to make it harder for people that legally have guns to get more guns. They're not addressing criminals that have guns illegally. Registration, most people that are shooting these mass shootings don't have legal guns. They don't. Now Duke, that like in Atlanta, he had a legal gun. But the 5 shootings in Baltimore, those weren't legal guns. Of course they weren't. So we're not addressing the real problems. We're addressing the fluff. And that's so we're not going to address it because we're not trying to address it. We're just going through the fluff, and it makes good drama, but we're not really going after the community, the mental illness in the community, helping those people. Because right now it's not the guns, it's the people. If you have a gun, you can stab somebody, you can blow stuff up. People that want to hurt people will find a way to hurt you. Guns are just convenient.
And I think we definitely need to do a prepping show about how to prep for an active shooter, because in your work environment, of course, a lot of people working from home now, but a lot of people still go inside environments and different things. And that's something that we definitely have to touch upon in the future on how to prep, because a lot of people don't know. I remember one time doing a class and they say, well, if there was an active shooter, what I'll go ahead and do is ring the fire alarm. No, you don't want to draw attention to the active shooter. You're trying to go the opposite way, but we definitely can talk about those things. I'll go ahead, Ty.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
You're on mute, Ty.
You're mute.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Charles. I have a question. I'm gonna read something. This is from the this federal court over. So it says federal court overturns gun bans in public housing. And I read this somewhere else. A federal district court judge recently ruled that banning the lawful possession of firearms by public housing residents is unconstitutional. So that basically goes back to my original question of the things that are put in place that stops us or puts a barrier up for us to obtain firearms.
Because if you was living in public housing and they found out that you had a firearm, you're going to get kicked out, and then you also get some charges on you.
So we have our rights, but even within those rights, and that's why I was saying I agreed with you, Charles, in regards to the gun laws as is, but the laws that are put in place outside of the gun laws is a segue into a piece of why less of our people would be able to legally obtain a firearm versus our counterparts.
I'll address that just real quick.
Okay.
We seem to think that all Black people live in New York City, Baltimore, these big cities, whatever. Okay. All right. And that people who live in these cities, all Black people live in the projects. No, we don't. Okay.
Right.
All Black people don't live in the projects. All right. So the mental mind games, whatever, that all Black people are poor, that all Black people live in government housing, whatever, is an illusion. Okay. There are white people who live in the projects. Mm-hmm. There are white people. There are states that are predominantly white where white people live in the projects, predominantly in the projects. Okay. All right. So we just look at our own little bubble, whatever, and say, oh, wow, it's just blah, blah, blah. That law applies to anyone who lives in the project.
So what about all the Black code laws that are attached to it? Because there were actual Black code laws that did not affect the whites.
Those laws, the Black codes, okay, most of those laws, okay, have been taken off the books. All right.
They've been taken
When?
off the books written, but they have not been taken off the books. Not, you know,
Take it off the book, right?
Let me correct myself because you was jumping in. Again, I guess what my point is, and what Liz and I were, you know, piggybacking off of is, again, for me, agreeing with we should have the right. But when you start putting laws in place, and even if you take them off the book, but the way the legal system operates with people of color, there is still, not the huge majority, but there is still, go ahead, Specs. Sorry.
Oh, no. You go ahead and finish.
No, go ahead. Because pretty much I just want to say that's the Black experience, though. Like, that's not new. Like,
Right.
We've always had that redlining, whatever we had to go through, whatever law, as long as you've been in America and Black and your grandparents and great grandparents, that has always been the case. So that is not an excuse, or at least not for my generation, and I'm 48. So we know that monkey's on our back. It's always been there. It's not going anywhere. So we have to be more disciplined.
Right.
We just have to. So I understand that it's hard. It's been hard. I've been homeless. You know what I'm saying? I know how it is without getting to my family stuff. I know how it is, like domestic violence and all that. And then living in America. I've been driving. I work for the radio station, driving a truck, and had an officer jump in my face like he wanted to punch me in my face and yelling at me, spitting on me in front of other officers. And I had the whole radio station behind me, and I couldn't say anything. But I knew if I escalated it, that could be my life. And this is at a Ravens game. But I've been Black my whole life. So just take redlining. That's always been our experience. So is it unfair? Of course it is. Do we have to do extra and jump through extra hoops? Yes, we do. But that's the experience. That's what it is. We got to work harder just to get less.
Well,
and it's unfair.
Just to read the comment below, Ty and Liz, I understand what you're asking. I have to agree. My son has been arrested for doing a donut in an empty parking lot, whereas a white kid typically gets a ticket here in Georgia. I mean, I think all of us can all agree that we've all had experiences. Well, wait a second, this ain't protocol. What's going on? But I have to, you know, I don't want to say that Liz was talking about victimization while Charles was talking about empowerment. But what I will talk about on both ends is us being here. Like we said, we've all had our share of experiences, but we can all say, you know, I've been in this situation and we've had these experiences. But for an empowerment purposes, just to leave on that note, please, please, please. I don't know how many times I say this is the reason why I do the podcast, so somebody could pick up a book, somebody could open up the internet and read or whatever. Educate yourself on what state laws and what your area, your city codes are different from everybody else. You know, when it comes to owning and operating a weapon, have somebody that is an instructor. For instance, Charles Haskins is an instructor. He does travel as well, you know, but you know, yeah. I gotta drop that.
You know, you getting real with him.
No, but he does know. He definitely has the licensing, and he does know how to train in reference to how to work that firearm, and the tools are out there. Once again, even for Liz, if you're saying, well, hey, I don't own per se a firearm in my house, being able to operate one. I mean, being able, if you had to pick up one, do you even know how to pull back that thing, do the proper protocols to get it, to let it loose, just in case? I mean, and this is for our families in general, because times are definitely changing. And you want to be able to protect your family and others. Last comment before we wrap up.
I just want to say this.
Oh, go ahead.
There is a serious issue within the African American community of not knowing the law. Okay, I'm not talking about this gun laws. I'm talking about laws. Period. The average person walking, the average African American walking down the street, whatever, does not know the law, and it's not a student of the law. Me, I'm a student of the law. I'm always researching. I mean, literally every single day, looking at something in the law, whatever, so I can understand and be better armed in the world that we live in. And the world that we live in is hostile to people of color. Okay, there's no denying that. However, being forewarned is being forearmed. Okay, I want to be armed with all the tools that I can possibly have. So if I have 5 fingers, I'm not going to go ahead and get rid of this pinky because I don't like the fact that it's shorter than the rest of these other fingers. Okay, all 5 fingers are needed to make a fist. Okay, so if I have a legal right to carry a firearm and I don't use that tool, I'm putting myself at a disadvantage. If I can learn how to learn martial arts, but I decide not to, I put myself at a disadvantage. If I don't understand the law of the state that I live in, the city that I live in, the country that I live in, I put myself at a disadvantage. Oh my goodness. Does this even remotely make a fist? What can I do with this? I poke, whatever, right? But guess what? Even though I only have 2 fingers on my hand, whatever, guess what I can do with this hand right here? I can pull the freaking trigger. Okay?
I ain't mad at it. Be like this. I see you. I see you.
Yeah.
Cass says having a law is one thing, but enforcing a law or equally applying a law is another hurdle. Legally, Black people are allowed to vote decades before being even able to vote, which is definitely true. That's another topic. That is another topic that we will talk about because they have been imposing all different types of voting restrictions on us, which is definitely crazy.
Yeah, you ain't lying.
It's really bad out there, guys. We're gonna talk some more. I think Liz has some technical stuff going on. Yeah. I'm sorry that she dropped off at the last minute, but we love you guys. We love you guys. Thank you, Specs. Thank you, Ty. Make sure you like and subscribe. Charles. Thank you, Charles.
For educating us.
Thank you for keeping it unfiltered.
Oh my, but you want to know what, just again, like to leave everyone with this, and Charles was correct. We lack the education regarding the law. We cannot think about things in a sense of how we feel personally, what's been done to us personally. Is shit gonna happen? Yeah, shit is gonna happen. But if you still have the right to bear arms and you have that right to obtain a firearm, do it. It is your right. Even if you don't use it, you don't have to use it. You don't have to carry it around. It's your right. It's just your right. And again, if you're going to do it, know the law. It's not personal. It's the law.
I would ask you if you're available, Charles, as well. I know I had some people text me too when we do the show about prepping for active shooters. If you can come back on, because once again, somebody with your knowledge about this protocol is definitely we need it. You know, it's unfortunate that we have to prep for an active shooter, but literally it's something that's happening these days. So I definitely will welcome you back on to this show.
Welcome back, Liz.
Yeah, where we get unfiltered and intentional. But I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Share.
Yes, bye guys.